Good evening, everyone. So today we'll be looking at ceilings, and then let me share my screen. So,
good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Happy to see you. It's been a while. Okay. So I'm sharing my screen. This always comes up, this escape, because we use it with Revit. So when we're done, I'll show you a bit of how it works. So close it now. And then this is the interface we always see when we log up on Revit. I'm using another computer, so just put this at the corner. So we go to the new, for new projects, new file, and then select metric architectural. Metric is for meters and millimeters, while imperial is feet and inches. So metric architectural, and then okay. Like I said before, we're working on ceilings. So there are many kinds of ceilings that are already built into Revit, and you can also make your own ceiling. So here we look at how to make a flat ceiling, how to make the one that goes with a slope, and then the curved kind of ceiling in Revit. So for us to do that ceiling, we should have walls at least. So we say when we want to do the walls, we go up to this wall section. If you click on it, if you click on the arrow here, you see the different types of walls. So let's say I pick a 225 wall. And then we check over here, you have the settings at the top, and you can also set it in the properties browser. So here we can see the height is 8. If you look up here, you see it's also 8. And anywhere you change it, if we change to 3 meters here and apply, you see that I will also change up here 3. And then how do you want to draw it? Is it with the wall center line or core or finish face? And then will it be a chain? That means when I click and draw the wall, it will keep following you as we draw it. So we're getting a chain wall that way. If you want to offset it, you put a distance here. And anytime you click, it will draw at that distance away from where you have clicked. And once we draw the wall like this, we can look at it in 3D by clicking on this default 3D view icon. So we can see that we have 4 walls in place. So we want to make a ceiling inside these walls. Now, what do we do? I say we'll do 3 kinds of ceilings. So I'll divide this box into 3 sections so that we can see the 3 ceilings when we are done. So if I get back to this level 1, and then make wall. So if you want to create a wall command is still on. So I want to divide it into 3 sections. It shows you the distance from the sides when you're moving your mouse. So I'm not clicking, I'm just moving my mouse and it's showing me the distance. So I can click. When it goes on the distance, you can hit escape to come out of the place that you have drawn. And I'm having 3 sections this way now. So for the first ceiling, we'll go under architectural. And then if you click on ceiling, it will show you automatic ceiling or sketch ceiling. So for the automatic ceiling, once you go to where the walls are, let me increase the size. Once you go to where the walls are, it will show you this red line to show that it will automatically create a ceiling in this space. And then if we come to this side, it's telling us that the ceiling height is 2.6 from level 1. So if I click here, what's going on now is that if you look at the project browser, you see that we're in the level 1 under the floor plans. We also have a section for ceiling plans, level 1, level 2. So when I click here now, it will tell me it's not visible in the floor plan because I'm not on the ceiling level. So usually you go to the level 1 for ceiling, and then that ceiling is in there. So if I go to the 3D, you see that we have a ceiling in place now. And then if you want to select it, you select the ceiling in that space. So the next one we want to do is the sloped ceiling. So for that, I'll put a roof and then I'll make it slope to that roof slant. So I'll go back to level 1 here, and then we want to look at the heights we have in the drawing. So we can do that by section or by elevations. We've shown the elevations, you can click any of these. And then if you want to make a section, you go to view, and then click on the section here, and then draw the section line where you want it. So once you draw it, you can right click on it and say go to the view. And so it's showing us the section through the building. So we have a ceiling here, And then we don't have ceilings in these other two spaces. We can see our level 2 height is at 4 meters. So I can change this to match with the walls at 3 meters. So that becomes our roof level. Okay, so in order to place the roof now, I'll go to level 2 for the floor plans. So that's to edit it. So double click on it. And then we want to make a roof here. So I'm going to try to make the roof that is has 2 slopes, not a hip roof or gable roof here. So if I go to architecture and then roof. So here you can see the settings for the roof: define slope, overhang, extend to wall core. And then we see all these tools to use and draw them. So here I have a box. So if you have an irregular shape, you can pick the line and be drawing around it. For here, we have the rectangular shape. So we can pick a rectangle and then come over here and give it an offset because of the overhangs that we want in the roof. So that should be 600. So once I come here and then click, it will come in with exactly that overhang that we have put around. And then you can see that these triangles are all around the roof once I've drawn it. So I want the slope to be on 2 sides. So that way I will remove slope from these other 2 sides. I can select them one by one, or I can draw a box so that doesn't touch it. So go in the other direction, draw a box that will touch the 2 of them, and then uncheck this define slope. So once we do that, we have the slope on the 2 sides, and we see that the slope is 30 degrees. And so we check the green mark. So to ask, will you want to attach the highlighted walls to the roof? So once we say attach, it will join the roof. So here we have a roof in place, and then we have that. So this is in shaded view. So if you want to see everything, you can come to the bottom here where you have this box and click on wireframe. So wireframe will let you see inside the building. You can also set the walls to be transparent so that we can see inside, but with wireframe we can see it. So now we say we want to make the sloped roof for this section. So in this part, we go back to that level, I think the roof level 1. And then we go to ceiling again. So for ceiling now, we will use the automatic sketch instead of, sorry, we use the sketch ceiling, not automatic ceiling. So we use the sketch ceiling and then pick the rectangle this time. So we want to stop this rectangle at the middle of this, this space. So once we do that, we have this called the slope arrow. So we use the slope arrow to set the slope of that ceiling. So if we click on the slope arrow, we come and draw the slope here. And then once that is in place, when something is highlighted, it will always be on the properties browser. So as that slope is selected, we come here and see how do we want to specify the slope. It says at the height or by slope. So if I click on this slope and then come over here, its default is at 18. So, but we want it to be at 30 degrees to slope in the same way with the roof. So 30 degrees, and then we apply. So check the green mark. You see that we have a sloped roof here. And then what we can do now is to mirror it. So I'm going to use this mirror to draw a line here. And then we have another one there. So if we look at it in 3D, we see that we have the sloped roof in place here. And then for the third one, that is a curved roof, we go to our ceiling level, that's a level 1. And then this time, we're not going to use the ceiling command. We have what we call component to model the component in place. So as things get more complex, you can make them yourself with this model in place component. So when you click on the model in place, and then you make sure to select ceilings, and then OK. So it will ask you what name do you want to give it, or it will give you a default name. So ceiling number 1, I leave that there and say OK. And then what we want to do is an extrusion. So we have different things here when we want to model in place. Sometimes we use the sweep for roofs to do that casement around. But in this case, we want an extrusion so that we'll be drawing the section and then we'll extrude it along that path. So here we need to set a plane. Where do we want it to curve to? So we have to set a plane, and then we have to pick the plane where the ceiling will rest on, where we start drawing from. So picking the plane and say, OK. And then I'm selecting this wall. And then it will ask me which view do I want to see it in, either the east or the west view, and then open the view. So once it's open now, I can draw the ceiling using this tool. So I pick a curved tool, and then if I go across this way, and then pull it up. So this is going to be the ceiling. So I'm drawing the section of the ceiling now, and then go to offset. And give it a thickness, so 600 is too much. So we say maybe, let's say 75. And then if you put your mouse over the line, it will offset by 75. And then we want to close the edges. So closing the edges, pick the line now, and then draw. And make sure the lines are meeting, because when the lines don't close neatly, it will always give an error. So click here. So once we have that shape and it's closed, we check no, we don't check the green mark yet. As we have it closed here, okay, check it first. There'll be a second one to check. So before doing this second check mark, we'll go to the plan and then look for the thing that we have drawn. We're supposed to pull it through that space. So we finish the model. Let me see, 3D. So we have this small line here, and we can pull it through the space. So go to level 1 ceiling. I was supposed to pull that in that space, but can pull it here. Has to be accurate. So pull it. Okay, so it shows you when it's meeting the line. So the thing with Revit, as you're using it in the other lesson I did, I could pull it in the plan, but here, once you pull it and it touches there, you see the blue mark that shows you that it has made that point. So that if we go to the floor plan and draw a section through it. So let me go to view and then section. So here we can draw 2 sections to look at the spaces. So here is the sloped section. So go to the view. You can see the other ceiling here, the sloped one. Then we make another section for the curved ceiling. Click and then go to the view. So we see that we have the curved ceiling in that space. Yeah. So does anybody have any question for this part?
I have, my comment is that the process is fast.
Okay. So the thing is, do you have Revit on your system now?
No, I don't know. Does anybody have Revit on their system now?
I have Revit, but it's I think it's a pirated copy, so it's not opening.
It's not opening. Okay, I gave somebody's number already. I don't know if you're able to reach out to him. He's in a cost tech company.
I think Architect OVA did. I think the cost that I put up was something like over 2 million or so. So
wow, no, that's too expensive. Okay, so in my case now, because I'm not buying it, I cannot fault you for not having it. The main thing is to know that it exists, and then if your company or somebody you're working with insists that you use Revit, because what happens now is that some companies will want you to give them the drawing in Revit or produce it in Revit. So it will be good to have an idea of what it's about, and then you can learn as you when you find the software. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, so I will go through it again because of you said it was fast. So I'm deleting everything now. Yeah, so we want to show the 3 ceilings. So I said we have the flat ceilings, we have the sloped ones, and then we have the curved one. And let me close all these boxes. So once you open Revit, you see level 1. And then in the project browser, you can go through level 1, level 2 for the floor plan, and then level 1, level 2 for ceiling plans. So for us to draw the 3 types of ceiling, let's have a big room and then divide it into 3 parts. So for us to draw the walls, we'll go to the architecture tab and then click on the wall. Once you select wall, you go to this arrow here to show you all the available walls that are there by default. So you see all these walls and their sections to tell you the types of wall that you have in Revit. You have generic wall, that means they're plain and you can adjust them. Okay, so I selected the 225 masonry, and then we want to draw a big hole. So instead of using the straight line this time, I'll use the box, and then we click. So I have this big room, and then divide it into 3 parts for this section. So 1, okay, so for the first kind of ceiling, let's go to ceiling plan for level 1. So I double click on that. So the ceiling level means that it's setting a height for the ceiling. So for the ceiling plan, we'll go to architecture. We're already in architecture, and then go to ceiling. And then you have the option of an automatic ceiling or a sketch ceiling. So for the automatic ceiling, we come in here. It will show you the height here. As I said, 2.6. Yes.
Yeah. Is it for the ceiling plan? Are you looking from up the building or from under the building?
Yeah, under. So they call it the reflected ceiling plan.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you're looking from under, right?
Okay. Yes. Yeah, so once we click there, it will make the ceiling automatically. So I've clicked once. If I come here and click again, tell me, there's identical instances. So Control Z to undo. And then let's see if our ceiling is still there. Oh, I didn't delete this roof. So let me delete it here. And this curved one. Yeah, so this new building here now, we have our new ceiling in here. So another thing to note is that if we select, so sometimes it doesn't select in that view. So if we select the ceiling, and then I come back to this ceiling plan, you want to edit the way you see it. So your working drawings, let me go to edit type. In the structure, you can change the way it shows on the plan. So we have this structure. And so, yeah, so if we come to this side here, you have, it's confusing because it's big. Let me reduce it. All right, so this is where it shows up. And then if you click on the side of the material, so see here, we have gypsum wall board. That's why it's plain. So if we click on the beside it, there's a tab to click on. We can select the material for the ceiling. So we have a ceiling 600 by 1.2, or we have 600 by 600 that we see. And then over here, we have identity, graphics, appearance, physical, thermal, depending on how complex you want to go with this ceiling. So if we go to the graphics, how do we want to see it? So it will show with black lines right now. And we can change it to gray lines so that it's not as bold as the lines of the wall. So once we finish doing that setting, I'll click the OK and apply. Okay.
Yeah. Patricia.
Yes.
Please, what if you're doing a POP ceiling? Is there anything that you could use to reflect that?
Yeah, POP ceiling, that means you want to specify the material for POP, right?
And the design too, because
the design, yes.
They come with a lot of intricate design.
Yes, so that other third option for the curved ceiling, the model in place will be most useful, where you would have the flat parts and then you would have the edges of the ceiling. You model that with those sweep, just like the way you want to do your parapets. So you have to do that inside each room. So there are a lot of videos for ceilings on YouTube, but the main thing is to know that, okay, this is how the thing works, and then we can go complex with it and so you can make the ceilings at different heights too. Those designs that you have that you can recess your lights, and then I'll show how to put lights in this one too. So for this last move that I did now, you can see that we can see the grids of the ceilings in this type of ceiling. So for this second one, we say the sloped ceiling, and then for that, we want to make the roof first. So we'll go to architecture and then roof. So on the lowest level. So yes, it wants to take me to the second level before making the roof. And then if we select the rectangle, give it the offset for overhang, and then begin to draw the roof here. So here, And we talked about the slope. So once you see the triangle, that means that that part of the roof is going to slope. So you can select it and then check the defined slope. I'm doing it one by one this time. So once we do that, we are going to have the slope on only two sides where we have these triangles. So checking the match, it will ask you, do you want to attach the highlighted walls? We say yes, attach it. And so if we look at it in 3D, you can see that we have a roof over the walls, and then they are all attached to the roof. So here we want to do the slope, the ceiling that slopes with the roof. And so back to the ceiling level, go to architecture and then ceiling. Sorry, I went to floor, so cancel. So ceiling now, and then sketch ceiling. Then we use the box and then we draw it so halfway of the room. So depending on where you want your slope to stop. If you don't want it to stop halfway to, so the design is your own choice. So I'm looking for the center now. Yeah, so when I can see, it's better to guess. Okay, so let me get a line and look for the center. Okay. And so the triangle will show us where the center is, but because we have so many lines, so it's harder this time. Get to the so get the center line, and then I'll delete this one, and then we use this to make our edges. We click on the two lines and then check. No, so we want to make the slope first. So slope arrow, and then click in the direction of where you want the slope to go. So now it's slanted, so click straight line. And then the setting here, we say we're going to slope it, use the slope of the roof. And the slope of the roof is 30 degrees. So with that, we can hit the check mark now. So we have the ceiling, and then we can mirror it. We'll draw a line. Select that, and then draw the line. So we have the sloped roof now on the two sides. And then we go to the third one, which is the curved ceiling. So let me I'll draw the section now. I'll use the section so that we can see inside the room. So if I put a section here, and then we say go to the view. So we're seeing the section. And then we go to architecture, model in place. So we use this model in place to make those kind of forms, like you're talking about the POP roofs. So once you have your sketch, you have the dimensions you want, they will say they have their form. So you have the form that you want to make that cast into the mold for that POP in, and then you can have those dimensions for your drawing. So if we model in place, and then we go to ceilings, we select ceilings, and then okay. So we'll give a number, ceiling 1, okay. And then we want an extrusion. So we say pick a plane, okay. And we're picking this wall, the wall that is facing us. So get the curve, and then you want to draw an arc, let's draw the horizontal line first. And then you can move your mouse to adjust the height of that arc. Escape, and then offset the arc to make the section. And then we put a distance, 75 is still there. And then we make sure that we still have this a copy checked so that it will make a copy. Like if you don't have the copy checked, you only move the existing line that we have. So this way now, we can join the line. I think I'll make a straight line and then extend it to it now. So I do this, and then so get a line again. And then close that up. So once we have the section, check the mark, And then if I went to the level 1 ceiling plan, yeah, so this is what worked before level 1 ceiling plan, we can pull it to the other wall and then finish. So that if we went back to that section, you see the ceiling plan here. So we've looked at the graphics. So now when we have our ceilings, you know, we talked about the schedules in the other point. So you can also make a ceiling schedule where we go to view. And then if you look up here, you see schedules and quantities. And then this is the category of everything that can be in the drawing that we want to make the schedules of. So if I scroll down to ceilings, to tell you we're making a ceiling schedule, okay. And so what are the things we want to see for our ceilings? These are the possible things. So it's very complex in the sense that I provide everything and then you select the things that we want. So usually whatever you pick, it will show it in that order. So I'm saying type first. Then I want to know the area of my ceiling. I want to know the count, how many ceilings are there in the drawing. Sometimes the family of that ceiling. And then we had slopes, different slopes. So what's the slope of the ceiling? And then the volume is also useful sometimes. It depends on the material of the ceiling that we're looking at. So we can also put that. And so the schedule will come in the order of things that we have selected here. And if there's anything we want to remove, we can select it and use this red mark. If we want to change the order, whatever is selected, if you click on this arrow, it will move it up or it can come down. Let me click on the down arrow, it can come down. So these are the ways to use this schedule box. So if I say okay, to generate the schedule of the ceilings, so I'm moving this aside so that we can see the schedule. So you see now that we have 2 plain ceilings. It's giving us 4 because remember we mirrored one of those ceilings. So we can, if we joined it, it would have been 1. So plain, and then we have the volume, the area, not the volume here. We have the slope for those ones that were sloping 30 degrees. And then once we have our schedule here, we can export it to be an Excel file. So you have this schedule, you go to File and Export. And then it's under Reports, you see Schedule. So it will ask, it's going to my documents now. So let me put it on desktop so that I can get it faster. So ceiling schedule. And then save. So it asks you, do you want to export the title, the column headers, include, so depending on how you're working on it. So I'm not changing anything, just leave it okay. And then I can find it on my desktop. So ceiling schedule appears here. You see that you have an Excel sheet with your quantities. So you want to work with this further now. What we need to do, we first create another column here. Control Z. And I'll click here to create another column here. And then if I select this box here and say data, and then we do our text to columns, where is that text to columns here? And then you can separate the text from the number so that you can quickly add it up and then know. So next. So you can use the space in between them to separate them. And then next, and then finish. So that way we have our numbers and we have the units away from the numbers. And if you select it like this now, and if I go back to home, if I select it, I can do the auto sum. So now I know that all the ceilings are this square meter in the building that I have. So I think the next thing I will do is to show us how to put the lights in there. So level 1. So let's say we have our ceilings now, we want to put lights in them. The old Revit, you can load in the lights from the Revit library. But here now we usually go to Insert, and then we load from the family, we load lights. So when you click on the Autodesk family, it will bring you here, and then we are looking out for lighting. So in this lighting, see all the different types of lighting that are available. I think the simple one, this is a linear box, and then we load it. So once we load that into our drawing, We can then go back to architecture and then components. So once you bring it to the ceiling, you'll be able to place it there on the ceiling. So I'm here, and if I click, it's saying is visible in the ceiling plan. So Control Z. I'll go back to level 1. Let me bring this back here. So architecture components. So we have the lights. So it's telling us that the elevation is 1.2. And then we need to select to place on the face. So if we select place on the face, then we can see it. We don't have to guess what the height is. So that when I come back here, I can drop it. So usually when our teacher was teaching us how to do the drawing, we're like, no, we're not supposed to put the lights. And he says, no, you want to visualize the room. So we're the ones designing the room. So you should be able to see how you want the lights to be in the room, even though you're not the electrical engineer or the mechanical person. We will suggest where these things would be, and then they will tell us, okay, we might be able to reduce it or make it, this is the implication of your design, and then we can also make decisions. So basically, you want to visualize it first. So I'm putting the lights in, and you can see that you're putting the lights, it's showing you the voltage, showing you how you can connect it. So it's interesting that you can, after putting in the lights, so let me save the project first. So ceilings, save. Yeah, so once we put in the lights here, if you selected one of the lights, let me zoom in on that. If you selected the lights, you can see that you can connect it to the switch and to power with the other lights in the room too. So if I want to make on the other ceilings, so create similar and then drop in these other spaces. Okay, so I click here. So I still need to select place on the face, like to join with this ceiling here. Escape and then go to 3D. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, so it's dropping on the wrong side of it. So I'll delete it. And then this one was on the face of it. So go to the ceiling plan. Let's make another section here to see what's going on. So create similar and then draw a section line. And then we can right click and then go to the view. So here we can see that one light is on this ceiling here. I'm going back to the plan now, so we can put more lights in that ceiling. So create similar. So I'll delete this other one so that I don't mix it up. So let me delete it and then make level 1 here. So here we want to make it so we cannot see the lights because of our view range. So when you cannot see what you have drawn there, it's for me to go to properties of this view now. So if I go to the properties of this view, so view range, I'll edit the view range. And then in this place where it's talking about the depth level 2, I can select unlimited and then apply, okay. So that when I put in the lights now, I can see it. It doesn't matter the height that it is now. So select and create similar, place on face, and then draw. Okay, so on the other side, this one that is curved now, so we can place lights on the ceiling so that if we look at it, let me draw one more section that I can cut through this direction so that we can see. We'll go to the view. Yeah, so this way we can see the lights on the sloping side, the curved side, And then if we go to this other view, we see the curved one with the light showing there. Anybody have any question? So any questions or comments? Oh, wait small. Okay, so I'll go on to the last thing that I wanted to show. So when we draw in Revit, I think the last time I tried to do a rendering, you come here, you see that we have this building, and then you want to render in Revit. So I can combine these two. Let me try to move this and get this up. Yeah, so I can put two of them in one place so that it's not cluttered in the screen. And so if we want to design, like we want to look at this drawing, we can look at it by clicking on this box. We can see we're already in wireframe. We can see it in hidden line. We can see it with shaded. We can see it with consistent colors. And we can see it with realistic. Yeah, so while you're in realistic, you can turn on and off the shadows. So in whatever view you are, you can put on the shadow, so we can now see the shadow of the building. We can set our sun, so sun settings, sun path is off now, we can put it on. So it will ask you, do you want to use the specified project location, date and time, or continue with current settings? So current settings means it knows where I am, it will use this place, this city that I am in now. And so it will show us the sundial, and then we can go into the sun settings and change the way we want to view it. For the sun settings, you have still, with the still, you can now, it still has insertion. You can pick summer, winter, depend on what kind of environment we want. So most times I use summer because that's when the sun is brightest. And so if we apply the sun, you see that it becomes brighter. So we've set the sun, the shadow. Let me move this down here. So we set the sun, the shadow, and then you can always put it off back so that you don't see the dial in the screen anymore. And so when you have this, you want to render. So it's under view. We see the render. Sometimes the rendering can be heavy, so you have the option to render on your screen or render in the cloud or gallery. So, but when we click on render, we can select what quality of render we want, either a draft one, medium, high, best. So they all take time to do. So if you pick the draft, it will go very fast. Resolution is telling you screen resolution, which is the least. If you select printer, you can increase from 150 to 300 to 600, so different qualities of the job that you're rendering. The lighting, you have option of sun or sun and artificial. When you have light, you can set the lights. And then you can select the style of the clouds, few clouds. And then you can also add an image, which I did in the last one. So if I click on the render now, it will render the building. And then once it finishes rendering, we can export it and save it somewhere else. So this is working with Revit alone. You're working with Revit. You can also work with Revit and Enscape, which is the rendering tool. I can work with Revit and the Twin Motion. So I've learned how to use the Enscape, and so I'll just show you a bit of how it works. So here, let's go back to the level 1 of the floor plan. So these are floor plan. So if you look up here, we have all those ribbons, the names of the things that we're using. Up here, you would see Enscape. So Enscape is a plugin to Revit, and then this DataSmith is the plugin for Twin Motion. So for the Enscape, once I click on it and click on Start, they have a lot of tools for rendering, and then the environment there is sharper. So you can use that to generate good images and also videos. Just like we have Lumion, there's so many of them. So it's loading now. So it has brought us inside the Enscape interface. And in this Enscape interface, once I don't know, if you press F, you can see your 3D view, which we have here, and then we can do some settings here. So I will minimize this Enscape now and come back to the Revit. And what I'll do to show how do we create views here, I go back to view and then come to the camera. So under this house, we click on the arrow here, you can get your camera. And then let's say I want to look at it from this angle. So I have one view. And so if I reduce the zoom, so I'm scrolling my mouse now and reducing it. If you reduce it, you can come to this blue dot and drag them out. So I have this view in Revit. I go back to the floor plan. And then I want to make another view. Let's say we're looking at it from this angle. So let's go to this other angle now. And then we have this other view. So what I've done now is I've placed 2 cameras that we can look at the 4 sides of the building. Okay. So if I go over to the Revit Enscape, you'll see that those 2 views I made have automatically showed up here. And if you click on them to go to that view and the next view that we have made. Okay. And then in this Enscape here, you can get materials online and they use them material editor. And then they have an asset library. So this is to just show you what it does. At the end of the day, you watch the one from there. They have a 1-hour video on how to use it once you have the software. So with these assets, you can get animals, you can get construction things, all these exit signs, you can get furniture, you can get lighting, and then people. So with the people, let me try to put somebody now. So how to put the person is, I click on the person here, and then I go to my level 1. Let's click on level 1 first. Okay, so minimize this. I'm on level 1 now. So I go back to the asset library and then click on the person. And then you see the person, you can just drop them in. So let me draw the outside so that we can see. We have a camera here. And then you can keep on clicking out as much as you want for that. And then escape when you're done with that. And then I'm picking a man here and dropping the man on this side. So drop the man on this side. So that if we go back to the Enscape box here, you see the man is here. And then if we go to the other view, you see the lady is on the other side. So this is basically to show us that they work together. If you went back to Revit, and then we still have the assets open. So let's say we want to put a vegetation. They have 703 types. So you see all those shrubs, the trees, and all that. So let's say I'm picking for something bigger. So we have this second drop. It's loading it now. You can drop that here. So once you finish clicking and then you press escape to come back to the library, they render error. Oops, I think the zoom is affecting it. So I come here and minimize, then close this. So what I would do now, start it again. So it will not be restarted, shutting down. Okay. Yeah, so that's where I'll stop here now today. And then if you have any questions or comment, let me know.
I thought to know, Patricia, hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
I thought to know that in the objects library for Revit, do you have various light types you can choose from?
Yes. So let's look at that now. If we go to insert and then this family. So we have lighting, and then we have under architectural, we have external. So external has like 4 different types. We have this bollard, street lights, standard light for street light standard, and then wall pack light exterior. And then this is external. Let me go back. to all results. So we go to lighting. So we have external, we just looked at that. So we look at the internal. Under architectural, so we have external, internal. These internal lights, and it has a 37 types here for the internal. So this is just you picking, do you want the bedside lamp or those pendants, recessed light, table lamp. And then with this, we also have MEP. So the ones for architectural are different from the one for MEP. MEP now has one extra external. We go back to MEP internal. This is 42. So we have a lot to choose from here. Yeah, so any other question or comments?
Well, now, how do you, in the ceiling design, how do you include your wood members, your noggins, your rafters, and your pour lines?
That one, we did that one in the last class, right? Where we had those pour lines and all that. So the idea would be to build those ones first.
Okay.
Yes, so if we use the last class steps where we had the pour lines and there's a king post, pour line after, and then we can join the ceiling to it. So that will all make up the roof system. So how do you do it in ArchiCAD? I know that's what you're thinking. Did you hear me? Can you hear me?
I heard you.
Okay, so
I
I was
heard
asking,
you.
how do you
Yeah, I
do
heard
the
you.
ceiling and the pour lines in the ArchiCAD?
When I get to roof members, what do? I just draw them as lines.
Yeah, instead of
But
building them, right?
there are wood members you can, but
Mm-hmm.
there are wood members you can choose from actually, if you want to do that.
Yes. So the good thing about building them is that, like you see, we can take them directly to the schedules, okay? And why most people are using Revit now is because of the collaboration. I was talking to the civil engineer I used to work with in Nigeria, and he was telling me that he trained his whole staff. He paid up to almost 2 million to train his staff with Revit, because civil engineers, mechanical engineers, architects, they want to have that file that they can all collaborate on. And then they have this thing they call the clash detection. So you are actually building the house before you go to site. So that can reduce the time delays and material waste too. So important.
Okay.
Okay. All righty. So we can stop here today, all right? There's another comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. See you next week.